It's a little bit crazy. You're suddenly blurry now. I wonder if anything was real. All our history's hazy, like driving in the pouring rain. Are we in too deep to heal? That you're sorry, we'll make up tomorrow. Tell me everything you know I wanna hear. I'm trying to be open, but that window is closing. And either way, I need to make it clear before we're leaving here.
There's something left to hold on to. We can work it through, you don't have to go. There's a future here with me. We'll find the light in a clouded room. Not giving up until you know.
You're sorry, we'll make up tomorrow. Tell me everything you know I wanna hear. I'm trying to be open, but that window is closing. And either way, I need to make it clear before we're leaving here.
And shalom, everyone. Shalom. I want to welcome everyone to the house of the lost sheep of Israel. And today we're going to be going through a pretty interesting teaching today. And I just want to make sure that each and every person, that you have your pens and your paper ready. Because today we're going to be going through a highly interesting teaching. But I do want to make a couple of announcements before we even get started. That one, that we do have a sister that's part of the school and been with me for a little more than 2 years. Her name is Sister Yawanda Smith. And I just hope that everybody keep her in your prayers, that she and her husband, he had just fallen to death. So he is no longer with us in the land of the living, but she is in really good spirits. And I ask that each and every one of you guys keep her in your prayers and keep her in prayer for the strength to where she can continue to move forward. For the Most High can be with her and she be one of the ones that he is looking for. It's not praying for any other thing, but you want to pray for her to get more strength. You want to pray for her to keep looking towards the Most High. Because as I even spoke to her, the same as I speak to you, he's still here because he's in this other state. Just like the caterpillar is now in the cocoon and he's waiting on this last day. So I want to give her condolences for the transition over, and I will also be speaking with her later. And the same is I'm asking each and every one of you. And second announcement I want to bring up is I want to actually bring it up to where I can show it to you. And we will be doing this teaching today. It was at 4, but I'm moving it to 3. And we will be teaching about some of the most dangerous false teachers known today. This teaching will be going out today, which I'm going to have to educate even Javier. I'm going to answer some of the questions why they wonder why I say what I say. But I have taken the time to where I'm going to take each one of them, because the ignorance on Ozan, the ignorance on Henry, and the ignorance on Javier is just unbelievable. So today I will be educating completely on Javier, to showing why I even say what I say, where this book has nothing to do with him. You will find this out today. So I ask that anybody that have anyone from another nation and want to know why I say what I say, and they want to hold it as they want to say I'm a racist, but that don't have nothing to do with racism. But they're going to find out scripturally, not something I'm going to make up. You're going to see it all in the Bible, what is going on. So what we're going to do, we're going to be showing that today at 3. So if you want to see something, and we're going to even have the Zoom open up to where if they see anything contrary to what was brought up, I'd be more than happy to give them the floor and let them prove, not just talking, but prove scripturally. And as well as we sat there and we talked, and as Ozan, he had lied on many things because he liked to get into the Hebraeus. We went in and we did some researching based on Wikipedia, which ignorance from him never shortens. And it just shows that something that his ignorance is common, because that's something I do not research from. But this just goes to show ignorance, that no matter what the age is, ignorance is always there. They making ignorance embarrassing ignorance by the way they act and the way they dispel their ways of doctrine. And same thing with that goes on to even with Paul to the Romans. Paul to the Romans, I also want to let you know there. Because many people, just because they have some knowledge of some type of doctrine, they truly believe your ways is going to change the ways of God. but not seeing that your ways cannot destroy the works of God or the direction that God is already going. See, the same as the world seek growing today, you can see people today. They will take plants and different things, and nobody knows what's the purpose of dirt. Dirt. I just want you to think about that. Dirt. And you put a seed in dirt. You have dirt all around you. Dirt is all the way around you. And you put the seed in dirt. And God already structured dirt with an ordinance to do something. And now can't no man take you from dirt and tell you what minerals and vitamins and food that the dirt provide for a plant. You don't see none of them doing that. And they don't know what the dirt provides for a plant from the seed. But for the dirt to ignite itself, some uses water, sometimes it don't use water, but the dirt process from the minerals of the dirt is within itself that feeds the seed. Are you with me? Because this is what Paul is actually talking about. And when we take water and we put seeds in the ground, and once we put the seeds in the ground and we put that and we plant that, the first thing happens is when you water it with water alone, do that change anything with the ordinance of God? No. But dirt releases the plant to do something to grow, in the same thing they do with the plant, and you can put a seed in the ground which grows trees. But nobody knows what the purpose of the dirt. I'm telling you, we can't get out of our own way on this, because when we look at this in its fullness, you even have nobody knows what the actual purpose of dirt is, because they don't know what's all in dirt to provide the minerals, the nutrition to make a plant grow. Nobody knows this, and they can't tell you. But then you have people today want to change the ordinance of God. For example, even with Bill Gates talking about he's trying to block the sun from the earth. Think about that. We have to think about things like that. And the Bible says this. We want to look at something. I want to make sure that we clearly getting all what's going on here. I'm going to show you in Isaiah chapter 55. Isaiah 55 and verse 8. It says this. It says this, and it's clear. 55. He says, "For my thoughts are not your thoughts." This is for anyone who thinking they can change ordinances of God. Anyone who think they can supersede things of God. As he said, his thoughts is not your thoughts. Neither are your ways my ways. What he's saying, said the Spirit of God. This is the problem that most people really not understanding when we dealing with God. We thinking God set something up, an ordinance from the beginning, and then we come in the middle, and all of a sudden we want to change the ordinances and structures on what God set up. Paul had to write this to the Romans. He had to write this structure to the Romans, because we're going to get into this. Because we don't have the ability to get out our own way. We don't have the ability to sit there to understand when God sets something up is not for us to sit there to play around and change it up as what we see fit. Let's look at this in Jeremiah chapter 31. We're going to look at verse 35. It says, "Thus said the Spirit of God, which giveth the sun for light by day, including the ordinances of the moon, including the stars for light by night, which divideth the sea when the waves thereof roar. The Spirit of God of hosts is his way, is his name, is his way." This is clear in scripture. But the first thing we do, we start smelling ourselves, and we get out the way. We get out the way and we start doing things ourselves. It says, "If providing those ordinances depart from before me. Not before you, before him. He said, the Spirit of God, then the seed of Israel, also will cease from being a nation before me forever. You tell me. This is the problem that we have. We sit there and we call ourselves, we're going to change ordinances and structures that the Most High has set up, and now we can change it. We doing these things and not even knowing the ignorance that we do when we do them. This is why I say we can't get out our own way. In Job chapter 38 and verse 4, it tells us this. It says, where was thou when I laid the foundation of the earth? Where were you? Anyone calling themselves, we're going to change the structure of anything, of any ordinance that God has set up, where in the world were you when he laid the foundation of the earth? Yeah, now we got crickets running around here. But what we will do, we will sit there and listen to a man that do such things and call him a genius, and he's a fool. This is the problem we have today. But it gets better. It gets better. It says, declare if thou have understanding. He don't know how it was set up. He don't know what it was set up for. He don't know anything else, but the sun just comes up and down. And now we letting a fool tell you, because he got billions of dollars, all of a sudden this fool can tell you anything and you will believe it. This is our problem. And it's not just him. Many others the same way. Many others doing the same identical thing. Want to change the structures and the foundation and the ordinances that God already set up. Let's look at verse 5 and see what it says here. It says, who have laid the measure thereof, if thou knowest? Who do you know who went to one end of space to the other end? Name one. One. Name one who went from one end of space to the other end. Who went all the way to the end of space at the top thereof. Name one. Not two or three. One. Just one. All we need is one. And the first thing we do is sit there and try to put them on the same identical level as God. It says, or who has stretched the line upon it? Who was putting the line out there? Where upon are the foundation thereof fastened? Tell me, where in the world is it fastened to anything? Where is it? Who made the connection? He and all these things that people do is nothing but evil and pure works, and they thinking they can change the works of God and it will not be destroyed. Man wants to control the world, so they hate God. They want to control the world, so they hate God. They learn a little bit of knowledge, and the first thing they do, it become 100 offense of them. When you show them the God's word, they become offended to that, because their knowledge, they want to change the structure of everything that's set up. I know y'all hear me. I know you hear me. See, because this is the problem with us today. This is the premise of everything that we have set up and trying to sit there and go through. And the first thing we do, we try to change the structure of God, the ordinances of it. Let's look at this. Let's look at Romans chapter 14, and we're going to look at verse 20. We need to see verse 20 and see what we here for and what we are here to learn about and understand what happened. Because Paul said that, he said, for meat destroy not the work of God. For meat don't destroy the work of God. For the doctrine of men don't destroy the works of God. That's not going to happen. But he says even more. He says, all things in works are pure. So everything that you do according to yourself, according to God, is going to be pure when you're doing it. But he got more here. He says, but it is evil for that man who eateth with offense. That's the problem. See, because the foundation was set up by God, and one man learned this, that these things is of God, he gonna sit there and he learned this with offense. Because he want to change it. He want to change the foundation the way God has it set up. Even his Israel portion, he want to change it. He want to change this stuff. You can't tell me that's not the problem, because that is the problem. That's the premise of the entire problem. You not sitting there doing things. Don't seek to do harm to them of even Israel's portion, but they do. You will come into contact, many of us going to come into contact with many people who are the children of Israel. You're not Israel because you ain't had nobody. You're the children of Israel. You're not Israel. You the children of him. And we walk around and acting like fools, calling ourselves, I'm Israel. No, you're a fool. You the children of him. This is the problem. We got to put ourselves on these other levels. So we want to look at this. We want to understand it and get the full understanding on what's going on here today. Because this is the problem and why Paul had to come to the Romans and tell you can't change nothing. Let's look at this in Matthew chapter 10. We're going to pick it up at verse 12. 10 verse 12, right here. It says, including when you come into a house, salute it. So when you come to someone, salute ain't telling you nothing but to greet, welcome it. You greet that. You greet them when you get there. But he got more here. He got a lot more here, what we going to find out. In verse 13, it says this. It says, and if the house be worthy, let your peace come upon it. But if it be not worthy, let your peace return to you. We got to tear this down. We're going to tear this down to where the ghost can get it. We're going to tear this completely down. See, because it's telling if it's worthy. The key is being worthy, because worthy just being, if it's honorable, if it's been fitting, then let your peace, then let your reason of your hope that you have come to them and let them know why you're there. And the reason why the world is coming to an end. And another going to be beginning. So when Christ returns, it's not for the peace or reason together. I want you to understand this. See, because he's tearing this parable down. He's going to break this parable completely down for you today. And when we sit here and we understand this, we're going to put some pieces together. When you drop down to Matthew chapter 10, verse 34, I'm putting it here to where we can get it. It says, don't think that I come to send peace on earth. Don't ever think that when he comes back, he coming to send peace on earth, because he's not coming for that reason. People believe he's coming for that reason, and he's not. He's not coming for that reason. He's coming. He says, I come not to send peace, but a sword. He's coming with a sword. He's coming with a sword. So a sword only do one thing. It kills and separates. A sword only do one thing. It kills and it separates. But we need to understand. And he's separating. We can even look at the tares from the wheat. He's going to take one and do one thing with it. You're going to take another and do something else with it. But we got to understand what he's talking about doing with it. We're going to see this right here. In Matthew, go back to 24, and we're going to look at verse 40. It says this here. It says, then shall two be in the field, one shall be taken, including the other left. Did you hear me? One going to be taken, one is going to be left. But the one that is always taught on is taken. They start talking about rapture, which we're going to deal with in detail today. Because so many people believe in the one taken as the one that's good. But we're going to find out a lot of stuff today. So one will be taken and one going to be left. 41 tells you, two women shall be grinding in the mill. The one shall be taken and the one left. He's separating it with a sword. He's taking each and every piece and he's cutting us in half. But we got to find out what's going on here and how this working out. It says, watch therefore for that reason, for ye know not what hour your creator doeth come. We don't know the hour, we don't know the time, and we don't know the day on Christ's return. We don't know this. We don't have no idea when he's coming back. In fact, let's get down to verse 40. Let's look at verse 43. It says, but know this. You better know this. It says this, that if the good man of the house have known in what watch the thief would come, he would have watched and would have not suffered the house to be broken up. Did anyone catch that? Did anyone catch what he said? I'm going to read it real slow again. It says, but know this, if the good man of the house, y'all stay with me, that if the good man of the house have known in what watch the thief would come, he would have watched and would not have suffered his house to be broken up. Y'all not getting me. We're going to bring this closer. We're going to bring this a lot closer. The fact known that Christ's return is the same, if you knew what time, what minute, what hour, what day, what year he was going to return, this is when the time you're going to call yourself, you're going to straighten up. This is when you're going to call yourself, you're going to straighten up. Because the ones that is left behind is the ones that's going to see God. It's the ones that left behind is going to see God, because you're not changing the ordinances of God. And we got to dig all into this. In fact, I want to show you something. I want to show you something in Revelations. A lot of people do not like to play with Revelations, but I'm going to unravel a lot of stuff for Revelations today, because we need to know as a people, we need to know actually what's going on with some of these parables that's sitting here right here in Revelation. In Revelations chapter 21, verse 2, it says, and I, John, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down from God out of heaven, compared as a bride adorned for her husband. That kills the rapture. The ones that's left behind. One taken, one left. The one that's left going to sit there, going to see New Jerusalem coming down. Are you with me? I want you to stay with me on this one, because this is getting ready to get really funky and really hairy with a lot of people. With a lot of people that's going to get real funky and left behind and thinking they being taken. And you got the ones that's being taken is going somewhere else. So we got to straighten all this out. And let's go to Uncle Idris. We're gonna find out something. This is where we're going to find out a lot of information on what's going on. And this is why you have so many other people of these other denominations who have chosen to listen to men and have these books removed from the same people in the Old Testament as the same ones in the Apocrypha, and they chose to have them removed. They don't know this information. In 2 Esdras chapter 13, it says this. It says this about this same subject. You're not going to change the ordinances of God. This is not going to change. And we're going to pick this up at verse 48. It says this. It says, but those that are left behind, thy people are they that are found within my borders. One going to be taken, one is going to be left behind. But the ones that is left behind is going to be found within his borders. And we got to understand all this here together. This is why that rapture theory is so crazy. You don't even see rapture in the Bible. But you're caught up on rapture. They tell you rapture, you caught up on it. Okay, we're going to be raptured up. It don't say nowhere in the Bible you're going to be raptured anywhere. But the same is left behind, the same reason they teach the rapture theory, that you're going to be taken with the spirit of God at the end. But that's the spirit of Satan that's going to draw the third part of God's people with that lie. Are you with me? Are you with me? Because we getting ready to go through some things. We getting ready to get through some whole lot of stuff here. We're going to find out some things here today. Let's look at this all together. We're going to go to Matthew. We're going to pick this up in Matthew. We're going to look at chapter 11 and really start picking apart what is actually happening. Matthew chapter 11, we're going to pick it up at verse 12. And it says this. It says, including from the days of John the Baptist until now, the kingdom of heaven suffereth violence, even today. And the violent take it by force, even today. Since John the Baptist, he's telling you right here. Christ telling you. So if you say that's not true, then you're calling Christ a liar. But you have some people who will tell you that's not true, and they still call Christ a liar. That's why I said you got these other ones. There's Ozan and Henry and Javier. They'll tell you all kind of lies. They don't care because they got their own personal doctrine. These are people who sit there and they want to teach you contrary to what the scripture says. So we need to see what's going on, because this is taken with force, pushing ignorance. So when the messengers speak, a third part of the people will become blood. Third part of the people. And we're going to find this out. We're going to start finding some information out. So the same thing is, some people don't want to have their children, that the younger ones, because we don't want anyone to get scared, because we're going to be ready to deal with a lot of stuff in Revelations, but I'm going to unravel it for you. Some things might not be comfortable for kids. I don't know, but you judge that within yourself. You might want to scare them straight. That's fine too. But we're going to look at this all together. We have to understand the scriptures as a whole. So let's dig down into this. We're going to go to Revelation. We're going to go right over here into Revelations. We're going to pick it up at chapter 8. We're going to pick it up at verse 7. We're going to go right there to verse 7. It says, the first angel sounded, including there followed hail and fire mingled with blood. Huh? Remember blood? We just read that just 2 seconds ago. We just read that 2 seconds ago. We just read that just a little bit ago. So what's going on here? This is what we got to find out. See, we want to look at this as a whole. So it's saying when he did this, it was mingled with blood and were cast upon the earth, And the third part of the trees was burnt up, including all green grass was burnt up. So we need to know what sounded and what came down. And we find out what's going on here. So I want you to sit here and we're going to get some good information here. So we're going to look at Wisdom of Solomon, picking it up at chapter 18 at verse 15. It's telling us exactly what is coming down. Exactly what came down. It says, thy almighty word leaped down out of heaven, out of thy royal throne as a fierce man of war into the midst of the land of destruction. That's what happened. Michael. Interesting, isn't it? That was Michael came down. People saying, no, what? No, Michael came down, who is like God. I'm telling you, we're going to work out a lot of stuff today. See, who is like God is his word. Actually, let me help you out here. We're gonna get some things today straight, and we're gonna make a lot of things unclear now clear. It says, in the beginning was the word, and the word was with God, and the word was God. Because God is his word, and his word is in God, and God is in his word. So when that word came down, it was Michael, who is like God. Are you with me? Let's look at it a little bit more. Let's pick up a little bit more and get a better understanding on what's going on here. Because this is why he's saying what he says here. And we're going to find out more so what is always to be, to come, and to fulfill. In Philippians chapter 2, it tells us this in verse 6. It says, who being in the form of God, the word, the spirit, though it is not robbery to be equal to God, his word. That's all he's been saying the entire time. This is why this is set up in this way. Are you with me? Are you with me? Let's look at this. Let's look at something. It takes us here, but we're going to look at John. We want to look at John and tell you why his word is set up so much like this. Because it's not complex once we start looking at it. In John chapter 4 and verse 24, it says this, and to make sure this is clear for us. In 24, it says, God is a spirit, and they that worship him must worship him in spirit and truth. You see the point. So it was the word that came down. The word was like God. The word was God because it was Michael, who is like God. It was the word. Now we get it. Are you getting this? See, who is like God is just saying Michael. It's just the word. The word is like, who is like God? Michael. That's it. Not complex in any way, shape, or form. So we see this in this word is going to burn up a third part of the trees. So it's talking about burning up a third part of people. Actually, let's better yet, let's make sure we get this understanding. So it's talking about trees. Third part of the trees. A third part of the trees. So to understand that, I'm going to make sure we going to get this where the goats can get every bit of it. So we're going to go to Judges chapter 9. We want to see these trees, this third part of trees. We want to understand this third part of these trees. So Judges chapter 9, we're going to pick this up at verse 8, and we're going to find out something, what happened. It says this in Judges 9:8. It says, the trees went forth on a time to anoint a king over them. So a third part of these trees was burned up. I'm telling you, we can't get out our own way. A third part of the trees was burned up. All the grass was. But it's telling us the trees, so now you know those trees, people, well, those trees really trees, aren't they? Trees walk. No, it's talking about people. But people don't understand how the Bible is set up. So they're going to tell you all kind of crazy stuff. But he's telling you, these trees went forth to anoint a king over them and said to the olive tree, reign over us. Reign over us. But he said, and unto the olive tree, reign over us. But the olive tree said unto them, should I leave my fatness wherewith by my honor, God and man, and go and be promoted over the trees? You thinking about that. But why? But he gets better. He gets better. So they went forth, and so, but the tree said, well, no, we got to start. It says, but the fig tree said unto them, should I forsake my sweetness, my good fruit, and be promoted over the trees? Then said unto the vine, come thou and reign over us. And the vine said unto them, should I leave my wine and my cheer with God with man and go and be promoted over the trees? You see how they keep going. They keep going. And the problem is, some went to the bramble. And this bramble said unto the trees, if in truth ye anoint me king over you, and come and put your trust in my shadow, and if not, let fire come out and bramble and devour the cedar of Lebanon. Are you with me on this? So some people, as with the children of Israel, have put their trust in other things. And you're going to see here, because you had a lot of people who actually consented to this. This is why these things was removed for us just to continue in ignorance. In 1 Maccabees chapter 1, picking it up at verse 43, he makes this stuff really clear for us, because everybody is not going to be saved. And it tells us right here, it says in 1 Maccabees chapter 1, verse 43, it says, yea, many also of Israelites consented to this religion. Many also Israelites consented to this religion. Many also Israelites consented to this religion, and sacrifice unto idols and profane the Sabbath. So we have people who has taken this, and they sitting there because they made things sound good, and these stars of heaven fell, and with these things of a burning lamp come down, and these problems came on. What am I saying? I'll show it to you. Let's go back over here to Revelations. It says the second angel, so the second messenger sounded, and it as were a great mountain burning with fire cast upon into the sea. And a third part of the sea became blood. I'm only pausing for a fact. See, we have this problem to where we can hear things, and just because it sounds good or if it jives with what we believe, we roll with that. But as I said, another one sounded, but then a third part became blood, and they fell for what was going on. See, when it fell upon the third part of the rivers, upon the foundation of the waters, it's telling you for even Satan himself. Actually, let's look at this. I want to make sure we not missing anything and we get everything. So when many of us go to hell, we know why we went to hell. That's the best thing to do. That's the best thing I know to do. In 2 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 14, it tells us this, and it makes sure this is perfectly clear. It says, and no marvel, for Satan himself is transformed into an angel of light. Really? Yeah, watch this. With the 10th angel over here. It says, the third angel sounded, and there fell a great star from heaven, burning as it were a lamp. Work that out. Work that out. Work it out. We done sat there, Satan done transformed into a light, and it's telling you this burning lamp done fell from heaven. Work those apples out. Because he sat there, he done transformed into an angel of light. And this one that fell upon earth is sitting there that we tied to, and a lot of us want to get tied to this ignorance. And this is why I always say what I say. People wonder why I talk the way I talk. People wonder why I hold to what I hold to, because people want to sit there, oh, well, we all going to, hell no, we all ain't going to heaven. If everybody going to heaven, there ain't no sense to set up heaven. It's craziness. It's pure craziness. Pure craziness. It tells you this, the one that fell. We need to see this all together. Verse 11, it says, including the name of the star is called Wormwood. It's Wormwood, who Satan himself set up for you. Is it going to change anything? No, all Satan going to do is remove some of us out the way. Many men's going to die with that doctrine that they done set up. People sit there and they could talk to you. Well, we're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about that. And then find the verse that jives with them. And now look at this verse here. And then they do a whole lot of talk and they're on one verse. And then talk to you for 2 hours. And gave you the understanding of them. And we walk out of there talking about, well, that show was a good service. Ooh, boy, I learned a lot. You ain't learned nothing. You learned from wormwood. And a third part of the waters became wormwood. Good for nothing. All you're doing is putting holes in your trees. That's all a worm do. Put holes in the trees. And many men died of the waters. Eat those cookies. Eat those cookies. Play with those cookies. You sitting there learning from wormwood. From wormwood. And many men died of those waters. Because they were made bitter. We can't get out of our own way on this. But it gets better on this. The fourth messenger sounded. I'm telling you, we can't get out of our own way. Including the third part of the sun was smitten. Including the third part of the moon. And the third part of the stars. Also, as the third part of them was darkened, and the day shone not for the third part of it, in the night likewise. What is it saying? Oh, don't worry, don't worry. We not getting out of this. We not getting out of this today. Let's go ahead and go a little bit deeper here. I want this over here, and I'm gonna still go back to Revelation now, but we just going to chapter 9. That's 8. We going to 9, because we're gonna make sure you understand this. But we're gonna drop down to verse 11, and we're gonna see here. It says, "And they had a king over them. Oh, you under the bramble. They had a king over them. Oh, they had a bramble." You keep looking for a king, you're going to find something who will rule over you. You will find something that will more than happy rule over you. This is why you have to remember you got so many men. They going around saying, I'm a shepherd. They are fool. It got one shepherd in the Bible. He says, I'm the good shepherd. And he don't say, I have many other shepherds. He said, I'm the good shepherd, and you will sit there and you will call this man your shepherd. Deserve to go to hell. Deserve to go to hell. This is my shepherd. Really? He's the messenger of the bottomless pit. Actually, I want to tell you what. Let's get it, because it's going to actually tell you this. It's going to actually tell you what I'm just said. Anyway, it says they had a king rule over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit. He's the messenger of the bottomless pit. A whole lot of people going right there to it, because they hold on to false doctrine. Oh, well, I like him. I like what he talks about, and he real interesting. Channel goes up and down. Find one. Find one. The channel goes up and down. Find one. This isn't the time to play games. You're playing with your life. And if you want to play with your life, then don't play with your life over here. If you want to live according to the world, go out there and live to the world to the fullest. Setting a man over you and had a nerve to call this man your shepherd. And he's telling you, well, I ain't going to call him rabbi. You call the man your shepherd, you might as well call him God. Well, the Bible said don't call no man rabbi. And let me calm down a minute. I need to calm down a minute, because this is the stupidness that we continually do. I don't call no man my rabbi. You call the man your shepherd. I'm telling you, we can't get out of our own way. We can't get out of our own way. In fact, I'm telling you, this it says the bottomless pit, whose name is in the Hebrew tongue Abandon. We're gonna find out what this is. Abandon is actually telling you about something that is more deeper, but I'm gonna give you the foundational understanding of that. I'm going to give you the foundational. It got a spiritual meaning, but I'm going to give you the foundational. That means destruction. Destruction. Now, later, when we get in the back, I'm going to tell them what it actually means spiritually. But right now, destruction. And the other one, watch what is it? It says, but in the Greek tongue, his name is Apollyon. Weird, ain't it? I'm going to tell you what this one is. I'll tell you spiritually what it actually means later, but same thing. Just take that as Apollo. Apollo. Or you can take destroyer. That's all that's telling you. This is all it's telling you. So, as it says, it's telling you about these two names that really has a whole bunch of the same things and meaning. And watch what it says in verse 12. It says, but woe is past. One woe is past. One woe is past, including, remember, there come two woes more hereafter. You got two more coming. Two more coming. Told you we're not getting out of this. And we got to find out how this is working out for us. And so far, we have been deceived once, and some people are going to continually be deceived because they want to hold on to a doctrine of a man. And, well, I like the way he sits there and he's interesting and he talks really good. Cool. Then channel goes up and down. Find one. Let's look at this. Let's look at this. Including the sixth messenger sounded, And I heard a voice from the four horns of the golden archer, which is before God. I said, what? Telling you. See, now everybody nervous. See, because a lot of us, I promise you, a lot of us, based on our choices, a lot of us gonna bust hell wide open. Based on our choices. Based on our choices. Because we caught up in the man. It says this, and we look at verse 14. It says, saying, because he got said, saying to the sixth messenger, which had the trumpet, loose the four messengers which are bound in the great river Euphrates. As I said, we need to know what that means. I'm going to tell you what it means, but most of us still not going to get it. It means sweet water, fruitfulness, bearing fruit. The Assyrians say it means something else, though. Assyrians say it means something else. Now, same thing. I don't have a problem sharing it with you, but I'm going to share it in the back. I'm going to share it in the back what the Assyrians call it. I'm going to tell you what the Assyrians call it because they got another name for it. And this is why the problem is there. Because it keeps going down and it's going to let some more. Because the four angels were bound in the great river of Euphrates, and the four angels was loose, which were prepared for an hour and a day and a month and a year for to slay the third part of men. Boom. And a lot of us going to get caught up in it. A lot of us going to get caught up in it. Why? He's telling us that. He's telling us this was going to happen. And I promise you, you ain't even heard this. Most people said, oh, I was saying that. No, you wasn't. No, you wasn't. Because it's talking about something. It's talking about something. In fact, let's look at let's go down a little bit more. Let's look at it a little bit more. And it says, and the fourth angel was loose and was prepared for an hour, telling you everything. Verse 16, and the number of the army of the horsemen were 200,000. That was deep. The number were 200,000. And I heard the number of them. That's deep. That's just deep. Cause he's saying that for a reason. Cause he's leading us into another part to where we need to get and understand and how to get out the way. But this is okay. It says, and thus I saw the horses. So now we're talking about some doctrines, but we're going to get into some. Just hold your horses and we're going to get into it. It says, in the vision, and them that sat on them having breastplates of fire, including of jackson. We got to find out what that is. Because that's talking about something that's real serious. It says, in brimstone, and the heads of the horses were as the heads of lions. Boom. Again. Why am I saying that? Look at all the people running around with those lions on their stuff. Do they know why the lions are there? Do they know the purpose, the difference between the two lions? That's what you should ask yourself a question. You should ask yourself the same question because it's telling you something here. It says, and as the heads of lions, and out of their mouths issue fire, including smoke, including brimstone. And we got to know what each one of those are to understand what was going on, because Jackson is also shown in Revelation chapter 21, verse 20. That's the only two times you're going to see it. Only 2 times you're going to see it. Actually, I want to tell you what, besides saying that, let's look at it. Just so we'll be on the same page. We need to be on the same page today, and this is what we're going to stay on the same page today with each other. We're going to go to Revelation chapter 21, and we're going to look at verse 20. The reason why, because we want to know exactly why he had to come to these Romans and tell us some of this crazy stuff that we wasn't doing right. In 21, in verse 20, it says this. It says, in the fifth sonics, is Sardis and chrysolite and 8, but you're going to see right down here, you're going to say ejection. See that? Because we need to know what that is. You're only going to see it twice in the Bible, but it's actually more in the Bible than once. See, this is why I keep telling people, you will know who actually know Paleo Hebrew and who don't. Because if they knew what this is, it tells you something about what really need to be said. But I'm going to share it with you today because we need to know what this stuff is. And it's telling you why it's so hung up on this verse right there in 17. And he saw them with the breastplates and it said they have injection. Why it's saying that? Because that means a deep blue stone. People say, I don't get it. I don't get it. Don't worry about it. I'm going to tell you what it is. I told you we're going to be on the same level today. Because blue mean the learned. See, in the Paleo keyword dictionary, it tells you the blue mean the learned. So if you're learned and they have these heads like lions, okay, you see where I'm going. You see where I'm going. You see where the Bible's going. Because I'm following the Bible. So these are the learned. Okay, let's look at this. And of the learned, and brimstones, and the heads of horses were as heads of lions, and their mouths issued fire, smoke, and brimstone. So we just need to share something more in what's going on. We need to know what smoke is, which I will be sharing in the back also. But we're going to find out more so what brimstone is. But brimstone, I will share because brimstone is just telling you about the instruments of war, instruments of destruction. That's why brimstone you always find in the Bible. Are you with me? Are you guys with me? See, these things is there for those reasons. Smoke is having a whole different thing. We know fire is talking about the desire. Smoke is a whole nother ball game. Whole nother ball game there. And we have these things that is set there for us to know. But it tells us this. It lets us know this. It says, by these 3 was a third part of men killed by the fire and by the smoke and by the brimstone, which issued out of their mouths. Now you see the problem. I told you what 2 of them were. I told you what 2 of them were. One of them I didn't say. This is the problem what's going on. This is why we sit there and we make sure people really need to prepare themselves for what's to come. It says, for their power were out of their mouth, their power in their mouth, and their tails, for their tails were like unto serpents and had heads, and with them they do hurt. Now you with me. Now do we understand a lot more of this? This is why we have so much of a problem. This is why we have to sit there and he has to come to us anytime I Paul to the Hebrew. Because just because you're going to change something, you seeing who's changing stuff and they're getting you to do it. They're getting you to do it. Actually, let's move a little bit more. It says, and the rest of the men which were not killed by the plagues yet repented not for the works of their power, and that they should not worship devils and idols and gold and silver and brass and stone of the wood, which neither can see nor hear nor walk. Doesn't matter. You got some who didn't fall for none of this crap, but that still don't matter. This is what I'm saying. It's going to catch a lot of people. These It got some that was not killed by that stuff. Well, the Bible says don't eat it, so I don't eat it. I don't do this, I don't do that. I don't do this, I don't do it. Doesn't matter. So they still repented not for their works or their power. That's why I say so many of us going to bust hell so wide open it's unreal. Because we sit there, walk around like our poop don't stink. Let's look at it a little bit more. Because you're going to see, it says, neither repented they of their murderers, nor their sorceries, nor their fornication, nor their thieves. They didn't repent for none of that. They just said, we don't worship this stuff. Are you with me? Self-righteous. Picking and choosing. Picking and choosing what you're going to follow. So we have to find out all what is going on with happening today. Let's look at this. Let's look at this. Let's go to 2nd Esdras and pick it up at chapter 13. 2nd Esdras chapter 13, picking it up at verse 18, and we're going to go to a couple of places just to make sure we doing this all good and nice and wrapped up in a bow for us. And it says, now understand I the things that are laid up for latter days, which shall happen unto them, including to those that are left behind. Including those that are left behind. The ones taken is going straight to hell anyway. But something is going to go on with them that is left behind. Are you with me? Watch what happens. See, because many things, they just have to deal with certain things. But we have to deal with things as a whole. Let's look at this all together. Let's drop down to verse 20. It says, yet it is easier for him that is in danger, that's left behind, to come into those things that to pass away as a cloud out of the world. Did you catch it? As a cloud. I'm telling you, we can't get out our own way. It has a lot to do with what I'm talking about. It has a lot to do with the smoke, but that's okay. It has a lot to do with that. Tons of it to do with that. Because he's telling you right up front, it's easier out of a cloud and not see the things that happen in the last day. He answered and said unto me, say it. So you see a lot of people going to teach you different things that is sitting there saying they left behind, not holding on to certain things. You have certain people teaching about you're going to be raptured up and you're going to be raptured right over to hell and don't know nothing you're talking about. So we need to see what's going on. Let's drop down to verse 22. Because 22 is going to start tearing this down for us. Verse 22 tells us this. Make sure we know. It says in 22, it's telling you, whereas thou hast spoken of them that are left behind. This is the interpretation. So this isn't what I'm going to say. This is coming from the Bible. This is the interpretation. Why the reason I hope to come and the dangers when we going to somebody telling them what I hope to come. Now they're going to know what the interpretation is. When we kept there door to door, hey, let me tell you, God is unpleased with us. Now you know why, because we're going to find out the interpretation on what's going to happen. And it tells us this when we get in verse 23. It says, he that shall endure the perils in that time have kept himself. So what is it saying? Don't worry, we're going to break it down. Because peril mean nothing but subjection, persecution, and suffering. Many times violence. This word right there. This one right there. That word right there. Many of us going to get caught up with this. We're going to go through a lot of subjection, persecution, suffering, and violence. Even seeing our loved ones, which we will be suffering and fall under subjection, our loved ones being taken at the time, and we have to keep ourselves no matter what. Dangers are going to happen. Let me bring this a little bit closer. We're going to bring this a little bit closer. Let's go to 2 Esdras chapter 7. Bring this a little bit closer, and we're going to look at verse 14. And look at it. It says, if then they that labored not to enter into the straight in vain things, they can never receive those that are laid up for them. Why I'm using that? Meaning we have we need to go through this hell. We have to be proven. We have to be tested. Actually, at verse 12, it says, then were the entrance of the world made narrow, full of travail. They are but few and evil, full of perils. This is what we're talking about, and very painful. Meaning we got to go through this hell. If you want to get to the kingdom, you got to sit there and let him know you ain't moving nothing, that you go, if I got to eat through your foot to get on the other side, your foot is gone. You ain't stopping my footsteps. We have to seek this road. And on that other side is where Israel portion is. He divided it. So we got to get to that other side of the road. Because no matter what anyone says, it don't change. People going to tell you, oh no, y'all ain't the people. This ain't this is them. No matter what they said, you worry about what's being said in the Bible, and God is true, and count every other man in the world a liar. That's why I said, you looking at this one today that I got on these false teachers. It's gonna clear up a lot of stuff, because the same thing here, the same thing there, and the same reason why we got to go through what we go through. If you want that Israel portion, we got to go through here. We got to. And we got to endure some things. We're gonna be enduring a lot of things. But let's look at this. Let's look at verse 24. Yeah, we'll finish out 23. It says, in perils and keep themselves, they have fallen into dangers, are such as have works and faith towards the Almighty. You see how he's saying this? But watch what he says in verse 24. Know this for that reason, that they which be left behind. So them that is left behind, one gonna be taken, one gonna be left, are more blessed than they that be dead. Are you with me? And it's full of perils on this road. Full of them. We're going to run into a whole lot of stuff. But let's look at this all together. And this is why I'm saying we have to understand what is happening all together. Let's look at Luke, and we're going to pick up some more information here. Luke chapter 12, and we're going to look at verse 4. Verse 4, it says this. It says, and I say unto you, my friends. See, we on this road. So don't think any other thing that's contrary to sound doctrine. So he said, and I say unto you, my friends, be not afraid of them that kill the body. Don't be afraid of them. Don't be afraid of them that kill the body. It says, including after that, have no more they can do. Because that's it. To kill the body, you're done. Now what you going to do? Ain't nothing else they can do to you. So there's no reason to be afraid of them. No reason to fear them. This is why you see so many people, if you find a man who is not afraid to die, that's one of the most dangerous people you ever want to run into. one of the most dangerous people you ever want to run into. But watch what it says in verse 5. It says, but I will forewarn you whom ye shall fear. So he's going to tell us who we need to fear. And he's going to tell you him which after he have killed have power to cast into hell. That's the one you fear. The one who can put that spirit in hell. Yea, I say unto you, fear him. That's the one we need to be fearing. Actually, let's look at it a little bit better on this. Let's get some side advice on this to where we know. We're gonna go to Proverbs and picking it up at actually I didn't want that one. I want Proverbs chapter 3. Proverbs 3:25. Proverbs 3:25. It says this. It says, be not afraid of sudden fear, neither of the desolations of the wicked when it comes. It's saying, you see, it's saying not when it's going to come, when it comes. Not when it's going to come or if it comes. No, when it comes, because it's coming. Don't fear anyone when fear cometh. Don't fear them. If you rolling with God, you rolling with God. Actually, let's look at something. We dealing with a lot of Uncle Idris today because Uncle Idris the one who can encourage you and show you things that you need to know. So we need to see this and see it in its fullness. So we're going to go to 2nd Idris. We're going to go to 2nd Idris chapter 16 and get a little bit more information there. We're going to go to chapter 16 and we're going to pick this up at verse 75. And this is why we don't fear no one. This is why we don't fear anyone that's have flesh. No reason to. And it tells us this right up front. It says, be not afraid, neither doubt, for God is your guide. If he's our guide, why in the world you worried about some man? Why? Why would you sit there and worry about some man? Because if God is your guide and we down here in the land of destruction and we sitting here going around and men sitting there telling you this and telling you that and you sitting there telling, oh, well, we can do this to you. We can do that to you. Why are you worried about it? That's all they can do. God is your guide. In Psalms 23 verse 4, it says, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. You with me. How in the world we walking around scared half to death and God is with you? All you got to do is be obedient to his word. And all we have to do is sit there and do what we need to do. And as it says, he said, you go and you tell them, give them warning from me on what they need to be doing. And once you do that, you giving them the substance and the hope of the evidence of things not seen, but you can see the things I've done. You see them. You see this. You see what I'm capable of doing. You see the sun go up and go down. Nothing changed. You give them the evidence of the things seen for the things that is not seen. The evidence of the hope. Let's look at this all together. Let's look at something. We're going to go in Hebrews. We want to see Hebrews chapter 11. We're going to pick up verse 1. It says, now faith is a substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Things not seen. So for the time when perils come and all these things come upon us, makes it more evident of what's going to happen on what he said. See, and he told us about things is going to whack worse and worse as time comes. Things is going to get worse and worse, even worse than Sodom and Gomorrah. Look at people today. The doctrine that's taught today. Look at this stuff. Look at it. You got people teaching homosexuality is good. LGBT is right and good. And people support it. People marrying the same sex. Good. You got people now today marrying dogs, marrying all types of animals. Are you with me? See, people not really understanding what's going on today. See, when people sit there and they marry this and marry that, or have this or have that, and they thinking they can do this and do that, and the Bible is clear on what it said. The Bible was 100% clear on what it said. But you're going to be seeing this openly, and you'll be put under subjection for even speaking against it. You sit there and say something wrong with the LGBT, or you say something wrong with homosexuality, you say something wrong with same-sex marriage, you have the same people go after it, and then they want to try to have you fired if they know that you're in this big public arena. Then they try to have you fired from that position. Tell me they don't do it. They do it all the time. They do it all the time. Oh no, they shouldn't talk. They shouldn't talk against this. No, they shouldn't be talking against that. Why? They want you not talking against God. They want you to talk against your God. Their God is a whole nother demigod. Look at this here. I want to show you something. I'm going to show you something. We're gonna go somewhere. We're going to look at law, and we're going to understand law. In Leviticus chapter 20, it says this. Leviticus 20 and 13 says this. It says, providing a man also lie with mankind as he lie with womankind, both of them have committed an abomination. They shall surely be put to death. Their blood shall be upon them. Okay. So where do I become this biased person? Because God said it, and I believe it, and I hold to what God said. We get the point. See, they have a problem with this, and they have a problem that it's in the Bible. So what they do, they change these things, and once they change them, they make them say something else, and then they say, okay, see, this is what God should have said, because I needed to roll the way I needed to roll. This is what I'm into. Actually, let's go a little bit deeper with this, because this is rampant, and people don't think nothing about it. We're going to look at Romans chapter 1, picking it up. We're going to drop down right down to verse 26. We want to see what verse 26 says here. In 26, it says it. It says, for this cause, God gave them up to vile affections, for even their women, even the women, changed the natural use, which is against nature. They marrying women and women. They marrying women and women, having sex with animals. Are you with me on this? People letting a dog, cat, lay in the bed with you. Think nothing about it. And he got to have on a flea collar. Dog licks their booty, they everything else. And you will let this thing lay right there next to you in the bed. and then tell me you're sane. Okay. You might as well, if rats come, might as well let the rat in the bed. Snake come, let the snake in the bed. This is the silliness we have gotten to. Women have changed these things. They'll sit there and put their affections towards a dog, a cat. It says, likewise, also men leaving the natural use of the woman, burned in their lust one towards another. One towards another. And people say, well, you shouldn't talk about it. The Bible talking about them. Telling you right there. Homosexuality is wrong. Homosexuality, if that's what you practicing, you go to the end like that. You will not see the kingdom of heaven. No homosexual will see the kingdom of heaven, period. He's telling you it's abomination. So whoever telling you this lie, you hold on to it if you want to. You hold on to that lie if you want to. It's telling you, in men working, which is unseemly, in receiving for themselves the recompense, the payment. See, you're going to not get paid for that, for their error, which was meat. So you're going to get paid for that. You're going to get paid for this stuff. There's no issues there. There's no issues there. So the time thing is, you need to take heed to what's getting ready to go down. Don't sit there and tell your brother, oh, well, I love him anyway. He's a homosexual, but I love him anyway. No, you need to tell him what time it is. Oh, no, bro. Won't tell you what, you can live to be 100, but won't tell you what, it's way more going to be going on the other side. You got way more time over there than you got over here. You got way more time there than here. So if you wait till you get over there, you got an eternity to what you're going to pay for over there. Temporarily here. Temporarily here. Let's look at this. Let's look at this all together. Let's look at Mark. Let's look at Mark because it's not changing nothing. It's not changing absolutely nothing. Mark 13, verse 33, telling us what's going to go on, telling us what's going to go down, making sure you get it. 33, it says, but of that day, including that hour, knoweth no man. Not the messengers which are in heaven, neither the Son, but the Father. Nobody knows when he's coming back, so we need to know early and tell you and give you warning on what time it is. Verse 33, it says this, take ye heed. See that? Take ye heed, watch, including pray, for ye not when the time is. You got a ton of people telling you, oh, well, the time going to end in this time. Stupidity on top of stupidity. They don't know the time or the hour. But you need to let them know of what they're doing, because their doctrine and their work of their ministry is pure. Meaning they purely doing what they doing. And it's not worthy. And then the doctrine that you telling them about, they'll sit there and they'll learn of it and they're going to take it with offense. You follow me? They're going to take that with offense. They're going to take it with offense and they're going to hold that against you. But let's look at a little bit more. Verse 34, it says, the Son of Man, which is the Son of Man is as a man taking a far journey, who left his house and gave authority to his servants and every man his work, and commanded the potter to watch. The porter to watch. So we all supposed to be watching. We all supposed to be watching out for one another. Every one of us. Every single one of us. The same as a servant, he took this journey, he left us, put us in charge, and commanded us to do what? To watch. Because no one knows when he's coming back. Not nobody. But you got fools out there. Well, time going to end in 2025. And you got stupidity out there. And people will sit right there and listen to it. What you going to listen to something and you already know it's a lie? Just so you can sit there and say it's a lie? Well, I'm going to listen to this lie so I can say it's a lie. That's silliness. But it tells you this. Tells you this all day long. It tells you in verse 35. It says, watch ye for that reason, for ye know not when the master of the house cometh. We don't know when he cometh. All I need to tell you, you need to be ready. You need to be ready even or midnight or at the cock crowing or in the morning. I don't know. Because he's not changing. Do the sun go up and down? Yeah, I see the sun go up and down. Okay. The same one did that is the same one coming back. Can't nobody change nothing. Nobody. Change nothing of the order of God. It's set. Let's get a little bit more. It says, least coming suddenly, he find you sleeping. Problem. Now you sleep. You sitting there, sleep. Don't get caught. Don't get caught sleeping. Then you sitting there thinking, well, this doctrine, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. I listen to it later. I don't want to hear it. No, don't want to hear it. Don't want to hear it. You sleep. Ben, I tell you what, have you ever had to wake up your kids for school and they just want to lay in the bed and sleep? They done slept 8-9 hours, and then when you go wake them up, they don't want to get up. That's how a lot of us going to be. We trying to find out what time it is, and we trying to tell you what time it is, and you sitting there want to stay asleep. The only time you will sit there and take it with the drop of a bucket is if it's an emergency. But he tells us, verse 37, he's going to tell you something. He's going to let you, watch what he says here. And what I say unto you, I say all. Wait a minute, all. Let's look at this word again, because some of us just can't read. All, A-L, all. That's inclusive. Me, all of us. All. Well, he's not talking about me. No, all. Is my name in there? All. To do what? Watch. You're a watchman. So we need to find out what's going on. Because he's telling us, all of us, each and every one of us need to watch and understand what he's talking about and when he's coming back. Because nothing that he said, he's changing. He's not changing nothing. But people say, well, he changed. Okay, you're lying. You're lying on God. He said he ain't changing nothing. And he told you to do something before he come. Because he's going to tell you right here in Ezekiel chapter 33, picking it up at verse 7. It says, so thou, O son of man, I have set thee a watchman unto the house of Israel. So everyone that's part of this, he done set something in place for you to do. For that reason, thou shalt hear the words of my mouth and warn them from me. Go door to door and warn them. Better let them know. You better let them know, because he ain't playing with us. Some is on the same boat. Some is on one ship. You got others over here. You got some going from house to house, door to door, and giving message, the warning from God, knowing these things is clearly seen, making the things more evident than the things that's not seen. So now you don't have no excuse to do anything but the word of God. Actually, let's look at this. Let's go here, because this is bad on us. This is bad. This makes us look bad. Just makes us look pitiful on what we do. In Romans chapter 1, picking it up at verse 20, it says this. It says, for the invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen. The invisible things. The invisible things. What part are we missing? Why do we have to keep trying to convince people, convince, because you have people out there teaching you contrary things and you tickling there, hear any kind of junk and you hold to it. That's why I tell people, channel goes up and down. Find one. Don't bring no silly, dumb doctrine to me. I don't have time for it. The invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead. They try to tell you this is a triple-headed God. Stupidity on top of stupidity, and we'll listen to it. What you want me to do? What do you want me to do? Just because you sit there and want to change the things of God, don't change the work on what God is going to do. At all. At all. It's not changing. It says so that they are without excuse. So now our buddies walking around without an excuse from the invisible things that is clearly seen. Actually, let me show you something. Because I'm telling you, we can't get out our own way. We're gonna come back over it. Don't worry, we're coming back there. Promise you, we're gonna come back there. We're gonna go to 2 Timothy, and I want to show you something. Chapter 3, picking it up at verse 13. Why? I want to show you something. Verse 13, it says this. It says, but evil men, including seducers, shall wax worse and worse. Don't sit there and trip. We sit and sit. So don't trip. These people doing it. No, we sit and sit, deceiving and being deceived. We're good at doing this. But it gets better. It says, but continue thou in the things which thou hast learned and hast been assured of knowing of whom thou hast learned them. Are you with me? Are we getting this now? We starting to kind of really get the understanding on this. Knowing just because men will sit there and tell you some silliness, we'll get caught up. We'll get caught up with nonsense. When one can be assured of the outcome of the faith of God with the work of the ministry, you see the sun going up and down. You tell me, go out to the beach and watch how many times the water come up on the sand and go back, and tell me which one ended up going so far it ended up taking over the whole city. You'll sit right there forever. Waiting and waiting and waiting. He set that ordinance there, meaning he's not changing nothing. So no matter what man did, he ain't changing the order of nothing. He said this here, and I want to show you something. He said something here. Let's look at this. And we want to sit there and see, because then we're going to come back in 22. But I want to show you something real quick, and back to what we're doing. In Hebrews chapter 10, verse 26, it says this, and it's making it clear as day for us. It says, for if we sin willfully, sin, evil, wicked thoughts, and we do it willfully, after we have received the knowledge of the truth, there remaineth no more sacrifice for sin. None. And we'll sit there and hold up to it. We can't get out our own way. So as he's saying, which I was taking back, told you we're going to come back over here. Told you I'm coming back over here to 21. It says, telling us this. It says, because we have received the knowledge of the truth, because we have received the understanding of the truth, because we have done everything contrary to God. And we willfully do it. Because when they knew God, I'm telling you about God, and they would not glorify him as God, neither were thankful, they became vain in their imaginations, and their hearts, and their foolish hearts was darkened. For that reason alone, playing God. Playing God. I'm telling you, we can't get out of our own way. Let's look at this. This telling you this is just craziness that's going on. In Matthew chapter 10, picking up at verse 14, it says this and makes this even more evident. It says, and whosoever shall not receive you, nor hear your words, what I've been telling you the entire time, when you depart out of that house or city, shake off the dust of your feet and keep it moving. That's why he said, don't tie yourself to this, worried about what they going to do. Well, they do these good offerings. That's why you don't see no offerings here. Don't need your dirty money. I can tell you what you need to know and keep on walking. Don't like it? Don't let the door hit you on the way out. Shake the dust off your feet, because it's compared to Sodom and Gomorrah would be more tolerable then than it is today. So God did not destroy, and you cannot destroy the works of God. Period. So same thing when you sit right here and look at 3:16. We're going to go to 2 Timothy chapter 3, picking up at verse 16. We're actually right here. We're already right here. It says, all scripture is given by inspiration of God and is profitable for doctrine, for reproof, for correction, for instruction in righteousness. You see that, don't you? And you got more fools screw that up all day long. Fools screw this up. But we're going to tear that down. See, because it says it's given by inspiration. And then you try to find out, because you got to know how stuff work. If you know how stuff work, you can know what it's talking about. Inspiration, just talking about the influence, the divine inspired of God. He influenced you to see what's going on. And it's saying this, and it's profitable for doctrine. It's profitable for the contents within the teaching of it. Are you with me? And it's talking about reproof. So for the wrongdoing on what it's doing. So it's for that wrongdoing and what he said, for correction. And it's for the immorality and heresy of false doctrine. But some people, if they don't like it, and they're going to take it as an offense. They're going to take this as an offense. As it says in verse 17, that the man of God may be perfect, thoroughly furnished unto all works, all good works, to all good works. However, everyone seeks, and many men seeks, to put stumbling blocks and to lead people astray for different offensive reasons, trying to raise money to buy this, trying to raise money to build that, trying to raise money to do this, trying to raise money to do that. Every time, money should never come out of their mouth when they're teaching the word of God. And the first thing they change, well, we just take up offering. You a fool! Asking for some money of God's. You take stumbling blocks and led people astray, learning the knowledge of something, and it's an offense now. And that was the occasion. That was the occasion and why Moses even said the things he said. Actually, let's look at something. I want to show you something. Make sure we get this. I want to make sure we get all this all together. And this ain't no hate teaching. This ain't no hate teaching. This correction teaching. We just need to get some stuff right. We need to get some stuff right. We're gonna go to Genesis chapter 3. We're gonna go here. We're gonna get this. Chapter 3, we're going to pick it up at verse 4. It said, and the serpent said unto the woman, ye shall not surely die. He's trying to change the order of God. Did not God say, if you eat of this tree, you going to surely die? The serpent said, no, you ain't going to die. Watch what he said. Watch how he catches it. Watch how he catches this. Verse 4. Watch what he said. I want you to pay attention. Watch what he said. He said, the serpent said, you should not surely die. For God do know that the day ye eat thereof, see, he don't want you to eat this with offense. See, Satan don't want you to eat this with offense. Then your eyes shall be open, and ye shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. Why is that there? Because you don't want to eat that with offense. He wants you to eat that with all gladness. He's telling you this right here. So, see, for his meat don't destroy the work of God. His meat ain't destroying that. But it's saying, but he don't want you to eat this who eat it with offense. See, he don't want you to eat his doctrine with offense. But he wants you to eat God's with offense. Are you guys with me on this? See, if you see this, you'll understand where I'm coming from. See, in that day, you'll be a God, knowing good and evil. That's why Moses wrote Book of Job. Moses wrote, yep, surely did, but people don't even know that. But the main thing is, I don't normally even share that information, but when you have to deal with them people over there with the Church of Christ and the doctrines of the devils that they teach, some things have to come out. Let's look at this. Let's look at Job. Job chapter 1, picking up at verse 9. Job 1 and 9. Because we're going to see some things here. We're going to see something here. It says, then Satan answered to the Spirit of God and said, doeth Job fear God for not? Do Job fear God for you because you doing this, he do that? Trading back and forth. God, that's why Job do what he do. So he goes on. He said, has not thou made a hedge about him and about his house and about all that he have on every side? Hast thou blessed, given wisdom of the work of his hands, and his substance is increased in the land? God, is this what you're doing with Job? Is Job your favorite child? God, I need you to talk to me, bro. Is Job your favorite child? See, this is what Satan don't even know what God was doing. So you see here where it gets in verse 11. It says, put forth thy hand now and touch all, Actually, we're going to find out what that is, because I want to show you what that is too. And touch all that he hath, and he will curse thee to thy face. Why did he write Job? Why did he write Job? Because this actually happened. Because he's telling you something to do. See, when he's saying touch, see, that's why he wants God to touch. God touch. Satan is saying God to touch. You cleanse it. You cleanse what Job is doing. Cleanse what Job is doing. And Job going to curse you to your face because he going to think he's God. Cleanse it. He out there talking about his son doing. Actually, I want to tell you what. Let's go over here. Let's look at this. I want to show you what's going on here with Job. It's a little complicated parable, but we're going to work. You got a lot of little complications in this parable, but we're going to work this one out. We're going to do this one out because that's this one actually talking about it. So we're going to go to Job chapter 1, picking up at verse 4, and we're going to see what's happening here. It says, the son and his sons went and feasted in their houses, and everyone his day. You see, it's his houses, everyone his day, including sent and called for their sisters, for their 3 sisters, to eat and drink with them. Are you with me? Are you with me? Watch what happened. Verse 5. It says, and it was so, in the days of their feasting were going about, and Job sanctified them and rose up early in the mornings and offered burnt offerings according to the number of them all. And Job said, it may be that my sons have sinned and cursed God in their hearts. Thus did Job continually. So Job did it all the time. Job did this all the time. Excuse me. So the Lord did something, and we'll see in verse 13. We'll start at verse 12. It says this. It says, and the Lord said unto Satan, remember, all that thou hast is in thy power. It's just material stuff. All that you have is in your power. It's in your power. I'm not about that. Same as Moses tell you, same as Abraham told you, all this material stuff is in your power. Only upon himself put not forth thy hand. Don't try to use your power against him. You can have the stuff. Job belonged to me. But watch this. So Satan went forth from the presence of the Spirit of God. So that's what was going down. That what was going down. So the sons were feasting against God and sinning against God. But that didn't stop because they had to raise the ante. So we're going to look at 2:7. Let's go down to Job 2 in chapter 2 and verse 7. Well, let's start at verse 1. Because verse 1, we just get the whole understanding. It says, again, there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Spirit of God. And Satan came also among them to present himself before the Spirit of God. Now you got fools out there still teach that these sons of God is talking about angels and it's not. But that just shows you the stupidity, letting you know they don't actually know Scripture. But people go still sit up under them. You sit up under them, you deservingly so go to hell. Deservingly so. Because this is the craziness that people teach. But watch what happens. And it says, and the Lord said unto Satan, from which comest thou? And Satan answered the Spirit of God and said, going to and forth and in the earth and walking up and down it, knocking on people one by one, technically what he's doing. But watch this. And the Lord said unto Satan, hast thou considered my servant Job? There is none like him in the earth. I'm telling you, Satan, there's none like this dude. Nobody like this guy. I'm telling you, got to check that. Satan, check. Nobody is like this guy. This dude's self-righteous up, but that's okay. And it says, a perfect upright man, one that feared God and eschewed evil. And still he holdeth fast to his integrity. He holds fast to his self-righteousness. He holding fast to his integrity. His integrity, not God's integrity, his integrity. He feels everything he do is right. But that's okay. Although thou movest me against him to destroy him without cause. But watch this. Verse 4. Satan answered the Spirit of God and said, skin for skin. Boom. I'm going to get him on that one. Skin for skin. Yea, all that the man have, he will give his life. That's all he needs to do. Because watch this. But put forth thy hand now and touch his bone including his flesh, and he will curse thee to thy face. So most of us don't know what cursed is. So let me change this here. Just like I said, I want to make sure everybody's on the same page. So we want to know what cursed is. Because cursed, what most people don't know what it is, but we got to find out. But curse is just talking about you being accused. So he going to accuse God, is what he's saying to his face. So this is one of the purposes why he wrote Job, is for this very reason. Because Adam accused God. And let me show you here. Even though he had the spirit of God, he still accused God of doing something that God did not do. So we're going to look at this in Genesis chapter 2. And we're going to go to verse 21. We're going to see what happened here. And this is why he wrote Job, to where you can see this is the parallel picture of what he's talking about. And we see this here. It says, and the Spirit of God caused a deep sleep to fall upon Adam, which he did. And as he did that, and he slept, and took one of his spirits and closed up his flesh in replacement thereof. And that's what actually happened. So I'm just giving you what it's actually saying in Paleo, besides just telling you what it's saying, what you see in English. So that's all I'm doing. And we look at verse 22. In the spirit which the Spirit of God have taken from man, he made a spirit, which he made Christ. He made the Word. He separated it. Separated to where he can attach it to the man. Technically what he was doing. But we're going to see some things happen here. And brought her unto the man. But verse 23, it tells you this. And Adam said, now this is bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. She should be called woman, because she was taken out of man. So, did Adam believe what he said? No. Adam didn't believe the crap he was even saying. A lot of us. He learned this with offense. That's what he did. He learned that with offense. So you're going to see what even happened here, but you're going to see what goes down here. And we're going to go down to verse 23. Actually, he actually even talks even more. And we're going to see this. And it says, and Adam said, now this is bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. She should be called woman. She was taken out of man. For that reason shall a man leave his father and his mother and cleave unto his wife, and they be one flesh. See, that's why he's saying we should be one as we are with God, should be as one. Technically what should be happening. But that's not the truth, because you see here in verse 25, and they was both naked. They was both in sin, the man and his wife, and were not ashamed. So the problem is what Satan said, skin for skin. If you sit there and you touch, his bone and his flesh, he'll curse you to your face. That's why he was saying that. And we're going to see what happened. Watch what happens. And we're going to look at this. So let's go to Genesis chapter 3. We're going to pick it up at verse 11. Watch what happens here. Really, really, really trippy. Genesis chapter 11, it says this. Actually, let's look at this. Let's look at it a little bit more. Let's go up to verse 9. We're going to work our way down. It says, and the Spirit of God called unto Adam and said unto him, where art thou? And he said, I heard thy voice in the garden, which you were supposed to be listening to, but he didn't. And I was afraid because I was naked. Now you know he was naked. And I hid myself. And now watch this. And he said, who told thee thou was naked? So he wanted to know who told him this. Dude, how did you know? Because the Holy Spirit should have told you right when you got it, but you didn't. But this is what happened. He says, how they're eaten. So now he's eaten of the tree whereof I commanded thee, thou should not eat. Thou should not eat. Now he going to curse God. He going to actually curse God, meaning he going to accuse God. He says, and the man said, the woman whom thou givest to be with me, she gave me of the tree and I did eat. That was a bold-faced lie. But he's told, but Satan said this. He said, but if you put forth thy hand and touch his bones in the flesh, he will curse thee to thy face. Because Adam did that. Adam clearly did this. So this is the problem that goes on. So now it goes back to this Romans 14, verse 20. This is why we was holding that. For the meat destroy not the work of God. Just because you got some doctrine from someone else and you're getting it from Satan, it's not going to change God. No way possible whatsoever. It's not going to happen. This is where the problem is with people. Because people will sit there and they're going all these different places and getting doctrine. Oh, I'm going to go get a little bit from here. I'm going to go get a little bit from there. I'm going to go get some from here. I'm going to go get some from there. Then I'm going to come to one place and I'm going to get doctrine from here. No, that's why I tell you in a heartbeat, channel goes up and down. Because I'm not into that. You know, the Bible, it says, seek ye out of the book of the Lord and read. No one of these should fail. But people want to go into concordances, all kinds of stuff. And this is where the problem is. So he's not changing anything. It says, for meat destroy not the work of God. All things in works are pure. So all those are pure. So if those all things are pure, we need to pay attention to what's going on here. We're going to go to Genesis chapter 3. We're going to go down to verse 23 to find out a little bit more what actually is going to happen by pulling up all these different doctrines. It says, for that reason, the Spirit of God sent him forth from the Garden of Eden to till the ground which he was taken. So he drove the man out of the place of the east of the Garden of Eden, cherubims in Eden in cherubims, and a flaming sword which turned every way to keep the way of the tree of life. So the main thing was what he's talking about here. You're going to be removed. If you into this is what's going to be removed. Because many people is going to sit there no matter what, is going to profess that they know God. Many people is going to teach that they know God. And they're going to show you all kind of different ways. I don't care what they do. They're going to tell you all kind of different ways. And for meat, destroy not the work of God. They're going to tell you, well, you have to do this. You have to be in this church. You have just like I keep going back there. You have groups of people who they say, well, they done name their church the Church of God or the Church of Christ or the Bethlehem Church of God or whatever they want to call this place. Mount Gerizim, the Tabernacles. They want to call these churches all by the names that they see in the Bible. And then they say this church is going to heaven. That's not the truth. They just naming it after a name that they see in the Bible. But when you go in there and listen to the content of the message that they teach, you can see they talking nonsense. It's talking craziness. And they're going to be drove out. So it says this and where it makes it all clear for us. So when we see scripture, let's look at something. We're going to go to Matthew. We're going to go to Matthew chapter 7 in verse 23. And the reason I'm going here is just to let you know, because many people are going to say that they've been putting all this work in with God. And same thing, he's going to say, and he will profess unto them, I never knew you. He never knew you. Because you work in something that's not of him. He telling you, he's saying you obey my voice. Not he going to obey your voice. It's not going to happen. Because the meat don't destroy the works of God. Just because you think you have a better way to go, your thoughts is not his thoughts, and his thoughts is not your thoughts. For his thoughts is higher than your thoughts. That's why your thoughts is lower than his thoughts. This is why all this is there. You have people going around, they want to be in robes. They want to be in all these different things. You got these guys now, they walk around with these, they look like costumes. But you hold on to it. And just you holding on to a false doctrine. These things, and he's going to tell you, I never knew you. Depart from me, ye that work iniquity. You work in acts of sin. So this is the problem that's going on, because that don't change anything. It's not going to ever change anything. And the reason why they're saying that you're going to depart from him, and he's sending you out, I'm going to show you where you're going. And this is where everybody who want to sit there and truly believe in their own heart that they got the doctrine of God. And the main thing is he works it one way. He works based on his precepts because he's doing the talking, not us. In Revelation chapter 20, in verse 14, and people will sit there and they're trying to make themselves saying, oh, well, we was using precepts. No, you wasn't, because you can run the precepts and you can see as soon as they go somewhere, they're going to inject themselves in there. And it tells you this in Revelation chapter 14. It says, in the death and hell were cast into the lake of fire. That's why they was cast out. And this is the second death. Many people are going to approach this death. Many people are going to be part of this, because it says, including whosoever was not found written in the book of life was cast into the lake of fire. Many people is going to run into this because they didn't sit there and they done took on to something that they wasn't supposed to be doing. Because for meat, destroy not the work of God. because you're going to learn different doctrines from different people under different ways in doing it. And no matter what, as you learning those doctrines, you are going to be messing around, and you hold on to it. You are going to go somewhere and you're going to invest in something that you shouldn't have been doing. This is where our issue is. So the same thing, like I said, it's some information that we're going to be doing on the summary part of this, where we'll be going out. And then, as I said, today at 3:00, we will be doing the other one, which I told you guys I will be doing on the most dangerous false teachers today. And these are some of the most dangerous ones known today. Is as Javier, which I'm gonna be focusing on today. But you got Ozan, and you have Henry Stevenson. So you have, I believe the one Ozan Stephen, I believe that's his name. But we're going to be dealing with this today. And if you have a chance, come back over here at 3:00 Pacific time, 5:00 Central time, and 6:00 Eastern time. And you're going to find out some information, as well as he's going to find out, that is going to be extremely interesting for many people. Because the main thing is the truth must go out. But the main thing that we need to understand is stop playing around with the Word of God. And this is what they do. People like that plays with the Word of God. So with that, we're going to, if you look down in the description, and you'll see down in the live summary meeting, you'll see where you can see where you can join. You can join the live summary meeting. It's down in there. And the same thing, I do have some people like to come in there under twice, where you have two things running. But based on how we've been going through some things in the past, I'm asking you guys to come in on one, because when you take up two seats, it makes it a little bit harder for other people to join in. So with that, I'm going to go in the back to where we're going to get those other little precepts that we needed. And then I will be teaching later on today at 3:00, same location, same place right here, where we're going to be doing that teaching against the Church of Christ with Javier Freyes as Henry Stevenson and Ozan. So we'll be doing that. So with that, I say until then, each and every person, you're welcome to come in the back. Other than that, everyone else, enjoy the rest of your Sabbath. And until then, I say shalom.